Gold, I think, is, going to go ballistic here, higher. And eventually the dollar's going lower. Again, this is all a bunch of noise. Despite the fact that gold hit a new all-time record high on Friday, the demand has been very, very low in the U.S. retail, right? Obviously, there's demand worldwide, or we wouldn't have hit a record high in the price of gold. But the public is not buying. And the public buys coins, right? The central banks don't buy 1 ounce coins. They buy these big 100-ounce bars. But retail customers buy these smaller denomination coins. Well, because they're not buying, the premiums have come down. So it's, even though gold is at a record high, you can get a deal on these coins because the premiums that you pay have come down. Now, I don't think they're going to stay down, especially when in America we lose access to all these maple leaves.
Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. Join our WhatsApp channel for real-time updates, breaking news, and expert predictions on gold, silver, and financial markets. Link in the description or pinned comment. Stay ahead of the curve. Don't miss out.
Those tariffs are going to apply to the gold that we import from Canada, right? Canadian maple leaves. We sell Canadian maple leaves at Schiff Gold. Now, right now, we haven't had to increase our prices. The wholesalers haven't raised the prices of those maple leaves yet because they're already in the country. They've already been imported. And as a result, there was no tariff. But when we run out of maple leaves and we need to buy more, they're going to be subject to a 25% tariff, which means there's not going to be any more maple leaves for sale in the United States because nobody is going to pay a 25% premium over the spice of gold to buy a maple leaf. We'll just buy coins from Australia, right? Or we'll buy U.S.-made gold coins. Now, once maple leaves are off the market in the United States, the premiums for a lot of the coins that compete with the maple leaves will go up. Now, it's not like it's going to make a big deal to Canada because, again, if America doesn't buy those coins, they'll sell them to someplace else. There's plenty of demand in Europe and in Asia for Canadian maple leaves. And so they'll ship them over there. So it's not going to be a big problem, for the gold industry. Again, it's going to be a boom because the production cost to make the gold to go into the maple leaves is going to go down because Canada is going to have all that extra energy that they're not shipping down south to mine for gold. And the wages are relatively lower because the price of gold in Canadian dollars is skyrocketing right now. And so this could ignite a boom in the gold mining industry in Canada. But I think if you want to get Canadian maple leaves, now's the time to do it. If you want to have some of those, and they'll probably trade at an even bigger premium in the future if you wanted to resell them. Because if you have Canadian maple leaves and we can't import anymore because of the 25% tariff, then the ones that you own will have a greater value. So I would recommend getting some of these maple leaves now, before they're subject to the tariffs. And, by the way, premiums in general, even on U.S. Eagles, are very low. I mean, there is a low premium, despite the fact that gold hit a new all-time record high on Friday. The demand has been very, very low in the U.S. retail, right? Obviously, there's demand worldwide, or we wouldn't have hit a record high in the price of gold. But the public is not buying. And the public buys coins, right? The central banks don't buy 1 ounce coins. They buy these big 100-ounce bars. But retail customers buy these smaller denomination coins. Well, because they're not buying, the premiums have come down. So it's, even though gold is at a record high, you can get a deal on these coins because the premiums that you pay have come down. Now, I don't think they're going to stay down, especially when in America we lose access to all these maple leaves. But gold, I think, is, going to go ballistic here. This trade war, the winner is going to be gold for sure. I mean, gold's going much, much higher. And eventually the dollar's going lower. Again, this is all a bunch of noise. The currency traders who are reflexively selling dollars because they program their computers to believe that when the U.S. imposes tariffs, it's good for the dollar, right? Well, if that was true, just impose more, right? Make the dollar go way up, right? That's great. When your currency goes up, that is a good thing. You are richer. You can buy more with your dollars. You don't have to export as much to pay for your imports. Everybody should want a strong currency. Strong currency is good. It's a weak currency that's bad. What countries have weak currencies? Poor countries, right? They have weak currencies. Strong countries with good economies, right? They have a strong currency. If you could just tariff yourself into a strong currency, everybody would do it, right? That is not the key. You don't just slap tariffs on your own people and then you get a stronger currency as a reward for taxes. But that's what, they've been led to believe.
In today's news recap, Citi sees higher U.S. copper, silver, gold prices after Trump tariffs. Citi analysts expect prices of copper, silver, and gold in the U.S. to spike after the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico. The Trump administration announced a 25% import tariff on Canada and Mexico, 10% on energy imports from Canada, and a 10% levy on China to take effect from 4 February. The brokerage said the U.S. has a significant import reliance on Canada and Mexico for copper, silver, and gold, with the two countries representing 3,300 tons of annual U.S. unwrought silver imports, 147,000 tons for copper, and 54 tons for gold. The U.S. is also a significant importer of semi-refined gold and silver concentrate from the two countries. The analyst said redirection of trade flows could soften the impact of recent tariffs somewhat, but the effective cost of these U.S. metal imports will still be higher net versus London pricing, combined with a heightened risk of physical shortages to meet U.S. exchange contract delivery. They expect further expected tariff escalation will be bearish for global growth, industrial metals, and oil, but bullish for gold. In addition, willingness to tariff Canada and Mexico as U.S. free trade agreement partners reduces the likelihood of FTA country exemptions from potential broader U.S. tariffs that could be implemented later. Combined, we think this will see U.S. pricing versus non-U.S. for metals widen further, the analyst said in a note.
Because again, Donald Trump claims that this is great for America and it's going to harm the rest of the world. And so that's what they believe. Oh, this Donald Trump wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't a good thing. Look, politicians do a lot of things that aren't good things, right? And this is one of them. And so ultimately the dollar is going to go down, and that's going to be a bigger boom to gold. But in the meantime, the price, even though it's at a record high, I think it's still cheap, but the premiums are low. They're not going to stay low. So, call up Schiff Gold or go to the website and get some more gold. Silver too. Silver is still very cheap. In fact, let me see. Now gold's down $20. Silver's down 40 cents. It's back below $31 an ounce at $30.94. We get silver maple leafs too, but buy silver. Silver's an even better buy than gold. And I think to the extent that foreign stocks are going to take a hit, which they are right now. I mean, there's been very little change in the stock futures. Dow futures still down about 580 points. That's about where they were almost an hour ago when I started talking. But all the global markets are down. This is a much bigger negative for the U.S., especially if this is just the beginning of more tariffs and if it's the beginning of a trade war. Again, everybody thinks that America can't lose a trade war because we're the biggest importer. That's exactly why we can't win. We are not in a position to fight a war because we're benefiting right now from these trade deficits. The rest of the world has to bear the burden of financing those trade deficits. And not only does the world supply us with the goods that we don't produce, they loan us the money that we don't save, right? So we're taking them all for a ride and basically trying to bite the hand that feeds us without realizing that we're being fed. And when the world, wakes up, and again, this is like maybe a wake-up call to get them to shock them into doing the right thing. But there's going to be some noise. I don't know how much more to the dollar rally there is, but take advantage of it. And the U.S. stock market has been a bubble for a long time. Maybe Trump finally supplied the pin that it's been looking for with the tariffs. There's a lot of air in this market that can come out. And by the way, the biggest bubble is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is getting clobbered as I'm talking. It's now down at 92,000. In fact, when I started the podcast an hour ago, it was 96,000. So it's dropped another 4,000, and it's really getting hit right now. Again, it's a long way down. Bitcoin got a huge pop on the idea that the U.S. government was going to buy it. Ain't going to happen. Again, Donald Trump set up a committee to study a Bitcoin reserve precisely because he has no intention of actually creating one. He has no intention of buying one. And so he was able to basically throw the supporters a bone by setting up a committee. As I said, that's what politicians always do when they don't want to do something. They set up a committee to study it because then they can act as if they've done something. Well, there's not going to be a recommendation to do anything. And even if there was, it wouldn't be followed. But based on who's on the committee, there's no way they're going to come out with a recommendation. And there's no way Congress is going to pass that Loomis bill. In fact, now Loomis said that they're going to have hearings, which I really hope they do have hearings. I can't wait for that. I'm hoping to be invited. I think I will be invited. I've already testified twice before Congress. I'd love to go there and testify a third time against the establishment of a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And maybe my testimony alone will kill it. But I doubt again. I don't even think it needs to be killed. It's dead on arrival on its own. But, so there's a lot of air that's going to come out of this Bitcoin bubble. Maybe gold has crashed this Bitcoin 100,000 party. And maybe that's the end of it. I think, if Bitcoin starts trading below 90,000, we may never see 100,000 again. But remember, 90,000 is still a great price. I heard somebody was looking at the price of gold. It was at a record high. I think it was Anthony Pompiano on X. And he said, hey, gold's at a record high. It's a great time for the U.S. government to sell gold and buy Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's at a record high too, or at least it was. And it's at a record high in terms of gold. So, it makes no sense to sell gold, which is still relatively cheap, even though it's at a record high, to buy nothing that's way overpriced. At least gold is something. It's too bad the Canadian government, they sold a lot of their gold that they had as reserves. What fools they are. Look at the price of gold in Canadian dollars. I bet they wish they had that gold back. They'd be in much better shape now. The currency would be in much better shape if they hadn't unloaded it when they did, just like the British. Maybe the Canadian government could buy up some more gold because, again, there's going to be more gold production because there's going to be more energy available in Canada to produce it if they